First contact and invasion. The day the world changed forever began like any other. Dr. Samantha Chen, lead astronomer at the Global Space Observation Center, GSOC, yawned as she poured her third cup of coffee. The night shift had been uneventful, filled with routine scans and data analysis. As she settled back into her chair, a sharp beep from her console shattered the pre-dawn quiet. "What the?" Samantha muttered, her eyes widening as she processed the information flooding her screens. This can't be right. But the data didn't lie. Massive objects, previously undetected, were decelerating rapidly as they approached Earth's orbit. Within minutes, reports began pouring in from observatories around the globe, all confirming the same incredible fact. Earth was about to make first contact with an alien civilization. As dawn broke over major cities worldwide, people awoke to the sight of enormous, silvery ships hanging in the sky like silent sentinels. Panic and wonder gripped the planet in equal measure. World leaders scrambled to convene emergency meetings, while social media exploded with theories, fears, and hopes about humanity's new celestial neighbors. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, Secretary General Amina Okafor addressed a hastily assembled group of diplomats and military advisors. Her usually calm demeanor was strained as she spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation. Our top priority must be to establish communication with these visitors and ascertain their intentions. We must present a united front as representatives of Earth." As if in response to her words, the alien ships began to move. Smaller craft detached from the larger vessels, descending towards major cities across the globe. In London, Tokyo, Nairobi, and dozens of other locations, the alien shuttles touched down in central squares and parks. From each craft emerged beings that defied easy description. They were vaguely humanoid, but with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with every movement. Their eyes, large and multifaceted like those of insects, surveyed their surroundings with an unsettling intelligence. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Martinez stood at the steps of the Capitol building, flanked by her advisors and security detail. Her heart raced as one of the alien beings approached, its movements fluid and purposeful. On behalf of the people of Earth, Elena began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I welcome you to our world. We come in peace and hope for a dialogue of mutual understanding and respect." The alien tilted its head, observing the president with those unnerving eyes. Then, without warning, it raised a limb. A blinding flash erupted from a device it held, and President Martinez crumpled to the ground. Chaos erupted instantaneously. Security forces opened fire, their bullets seeming to have little effect on the alien's shimmering form. Similar scenes unfolded around the world as the true nature of the visitation became horrifyingly clear. This was not first contact, but an invasion. The alien ships in orbit sprang to life, unleashing devastation on a scale humanity had never witnessed. Energy beams sliced through military installations, communication centers, and power grids. Major cities were enveloped in force fields that cut them off from the outside world. The global defense networks, despite years of preparation for various doomsday scenarios, found themselves woefully inadequate against the advanced alien technology. In the skies above Beijing, Wing Commander Lai Wei led a desperate squadron of fighter jets against the alien craft. "Form up and target the lead ship," he ordered, his voice tense but controlled. The pilots executed a perfect formation, unleashing a barrage of missiles at their otherworldly opponent. For a brief moment, hope flared as the missiles struck their target. But as the smoke cleared, the alien ship remained unscathed, its surface rippling like water. Before Lai Wei could issue another command, green energy bolts lanced out from the ship, vaporizing half of his squadron in an instant. "Retreat! All units retreat!" Lai Wei yelled, but it was too late. The last thing he saw was a blinding green light as his fighter disintegrated around him. On the ground, the situation was equally dire. In the suburbs of Sydney, Australia, Paramedic Jack O'Connor raced through the streets in his ambulance, desperately trying to reach the overwhelmed hospitals. The sky above was filled with alien ships, their ominous forms casting long shadows over the panicked city. "This is Echo 3, Jack shouted into his radio, swerving to avoid abandoned cars. "We're en route to Royal Prince Alfred with critical patients." "Does anyone copy?" Only static answered him. As he rounded a corner, Jack's blood ran cold. A group of alien foot soldiers was methodically moving through the street, using strange devices to subdue any humans they encountered. Without thinking, Jack slammed the ambulance into reverse, tires screeching as he sought an alternate route. In the forests outside Moscow, Captain Anastasia Volkova led a ragtag group of soldiers and civilians towards a rumored safe zone. The sound of distant explosions punctuated their hurried march through the undergrowth. "Keep moving," Anastasia urged, helping an elderly man over a fallen log. "We need to reach the bunker before nightfall." A young soldier, barely out of his teens, approached her with fear in his eyes. "Captain, do you think we have a chance against them?" Anastasia paused, weighing her words carefully. "I think," she said finally, "that humanity has faced extinction before. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We'll survive this too. We have to." As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, the scale of the devastation became clear. Major cities lay in ruins, governments were in disarray, and millions were dead or missing. Yet amidst the chaos and despair, pockets of resistance were already forming. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Samantha Chen found herself in an emergency meeting with some of the world's brightest scientific minds. General Marcus Hawthorne, a grizzled veteran with a reputation for unconventional tactics, addressed the assembled group. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice grave, "I won't sugarcoat this. We're facing an enemy with technology far beyond our own. But that doesn't mean we're beaten. Throughout history, humanity has overcome seemingly insurmountable odds through ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination. That's exactly what we need now." He gestured to a holographic display showing the alien ships. "Our job is to find a way to fight back. Study their tech, find their weaknesses, and give our people a fighting chance. The fate of our species rests on your shoulders." As the scientists broke into groups, each tackling a different aspect of the alien threat, Samantha felt a mix of fear and determination. She approached a workstation and began analyzing the astronomical data from before the invasion, searching for any clue they might have missed. Thousands of miles away, in the war-torn streets of Lagos, Nigeria, a young hacker named Adebayo Ogunlisi huddled in a makeshift shelter, surrounded by salvaged computer equipment. Despite the constant threat of alien patrols, Adebayo worked tirelessly to establish a secure communication network for the resistance. Come on," he muttered, fingers flying over the keyboard. A smile broke across his face as connections began to light up on his screen. Slowly but surely, a web of communication was being woven between survivor groups across the globe. As the first day of alien rule came to an end, humanity faced its darkest hour. Cities burned, millions were dead or captured, and the full might of Earth's military had been swatted aside like insects. Yet in hidden bunkers, ruined cities, and remote outposts, the seeds of resistance were being sown. Dr. Chen, poring over data in her underground lab, felt a glimmer of hope as she noticed a pattern in the alien ship movements. General Hawthorne, coordinating what remained of the global military, began to formulate strategies based on the invaders' tactics. Anastasia Volkova, leading her group to safety, started training civilians in guerrilla warfare. And Adebayo, linking survivors across continents, laid the groundwork for a global resistance network. The aliens had come seeking easy conquest, expecting to find a primitive, divided species ripe for subjugation. Instead, they would soon learn a harsh lesson. Humanity, when pushed to the brink, was capable of feats that defied imagination. The war for Earth had only just begun, and despite the overwhelming odds, the human spirit remained unbroken. As night fell on that first terrible day, survivors around the world looked to the star-filled sky, now ominously populated by alien ships. In their eyes burned not just fear, but a fierce determination. The message was clear: this is our home, and we will defend it to the last. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the fate of humanity. Against all odds, the resistance would rise, and the true strength of the human spirit would be unleashed. Resistance and adaptation. 3 months after the initial invasion, the world was a drastically different place. Major cities lay in ruins, their skylines forever altered by the presence of looming alien structures. The invaders, now known as the Zoraxians, had established a brutal regime of control over much of the planet. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity refused to submit. In the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, now codenamed Haven, Dr. Samantha Chen rubbed her tired eyes as she examined the holographic display before her. The room buzzed with the energy of scientists and engineers working around the clock to understand and counter the alien technology. "Dr. Chen," the voice called out. She turned to see General Hawthorne approaching, his face lined with exhaustion but his eyes still sharp. "Please tell me you have good news." Samantha nodded, a hint of excitement in her voice. "We've made a breakthrough in deciphering their communication protocols. It's not much, but it's a start." The general's eyes lit up. "That's more than we had yesterday. Keep pushing. Every bit of knowledge brings us closer to turning the tide." As they discussed the implications of this discovery, an alarm blared through the facility. "Incoming transmission from Resistance Cell Echo," a voice announced over the intercom. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the face of Adebayo Ogunlisi, the young Nigerian hacker who had become a key player in the global resistance network. "Haven, this is Echo. We've intercepted alien transmissions indicating a major operation planned for the Australian outback. They're searching for something." General Hawthorne leaned in, his brow furrowed. "Any idea what they're after?" Adebayo shook his head. "Not yet, but whatever it is, they're throwing significant resources at it. This could be our chance to strike back." The general nodded, a plan already forming in his mind. "Agreed. I'll contact our cells in the region." "Good work, Echo. Haven out." As the transmission ended, Hawthorne turned to Samantha. "Dr. Chen, I need your team to analyze every scrap of data we have on the Australian outback. There must be a reason they're so interested in that area." Samantha nodded, already moving to gather her team. The race was on to uncover the aliens' objective and find a way to thwart their plans. Thousands of miles away, in the sun-scorched expanse of the Australian outback, Captain Jack O'Connor, the former paramedic now turned resistance fighter, led a small team through the rugged terrain. Their mission: to establish a new hidden base for the Oceania Resistance Front. "Stay sharp, people," Jack warned, his eyes scanning the horizon. "Alien patrols have been increasing in this sector." As if on cue, a low hum filled the air. The team quickly took cover behind a cluster of boulders as an alien scout ship passed overhead. "That's the third one today," whispered Sarah Chen, a former software engineer and Jack's second-in-command. "Something's got them riled up." Jack nodded grimly. "Which means we need to move faster. The sooner we get this base operational, the better chance we have of finding out what they're after." As the team resumed their careful trek across the barren landscape, Jack couldn't help but marvel at how quickly they'd adapted to this new reality. Just a few months ago, he'd been driving an ambulance through Sydney. Now, he was leading guerrilla operations against an alien occupation force. The base they were establishing was more than just a hideout. It would serve as a hub for gathering intelligence, coordinating attacks, and most importantly, developing new weapons and tactics to combat the alien threat. One of their most promising projects was the reverse engineering of salvaged alien technology. It was dangerous work, More than one resistance cell had been wiped out when captured alien tech self-destructed, but the potential payoff was too great to ignore. As night fell, the team finally reached their destination, a vast network of natural caves hidden in a remote mountain range. It was perfect for their needs, defensible, easily concealed, and with enough space to house hundreds of resistance fighters and refugees. "Home sweet home," Jack muttered as they entered the main cavern. "All right, let's get to work. We need this place operational yesterday." Across the globe, in the frozen wastes of Siberia, Captain Anastasia Volkova led a daring raid on an alien supply convoy. Her team, a mix of hardened soldiers and civilian volunteers, moved with practiced precision through the snow-covered forest. "Target in sight," Anastasia whispered into her comm unit. "All teams, prepare to engage on my mark." The alien vehicles, sleek and otherworldly, glided silently over the snowy ground. As they entered the ambush zone, Anastasia gave the signal. Now, the forest erupted in chaos. EMP charges, one of the few human weapons effective against alien tech, detonated, disabling the convoy shields. Resistance fighters emerged from hiding, unleashing a barrage of gunfire and salvage alien weapons. The battle was fierce but brief. Within minutes, the convoy was neutralized, and Anastasia's team swarmed the vehicles, quickly offloading supplies and any technology they could salvage. As they worked, Anastasia's second-in-command, Victor, approached her with a worried expression. "Captain, we've got a problem. One of the alien commanders is still alive." Anastasia's mind raced. This was unprecedented. No one had ever captured a high-ranking Zoraxian before. The intelligence value was immeasurable, but the risks. "Secure it and prepare for immediate extraction," she ordered. "And Victor, not a word of this to anyone outside our immediate team." "Understood." Victor nodded grimly. They both knew the dangers of what they were attempting, but also the potential rewards. If they could unlock the secrets in the alien commander's mind, it could change the course of the war. Back at Haven, Dr. Chen's team had made a startling discovery. After days of non-stop analysis, they had uncovered the reason for the Zoraxians' interest in the Australian outback. "It's not what's on the surface," Samantha explained to General Hawthorne, pointing to a complex geological survey. "It's what's underneath. There's a massive deposit of a rare element 3 kilometers below the surface. We believe the aliens use it as a power source for their more advanced weapons." Hawthorne's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. If we could deny them access to this resource, we could significantly hamper their operations. "Yes," Samantha finished. "But sir, there's more. Our initial tests suggest this element could be the key to powering our own reverse-engineered alien tech. If we could secure even a fraction of this deposit," the general's face hardened with determination, "then we need to launch an operation immediately. Contact all resistance cells in the region. We're going to beat the Zoraxians to the punch." As plans were set in motion for what could be a turning point in the war, Adebayo Ogunlisi worked tirelessly from his hidden base in Lagos. His network had grown exponentially, linking resistance cells across continents and providing a vital flow of information. But Adebayo had an even more ambitious project in the works. Buried deep in the alien transmissions he intercepted were fragments of the Zoraxians' base code, the fundamental language of their technology. "If I can crack this," he muttered to himself, fingers flying over his keyboard, "we might be able to hijack their systems, turn their own tech against them." It was a monumental task, one that had already cost him countless sleepless nights, but Adebayo pressed on, driven by the knowledge that every small victory brought humanity one step closer to reclaiming their world. As the resistance movement gained strength and momentum, the Zoraxians began to realize that conquering Earth would not be as simple as they had initially believed. The humans, far from being the primitive species they had expected, were proving to be resourceful, adaptable, and utterly relentless in their defense of their homeworld. In response, the aliens intensified their efforts, unleashing new and terrifying weapons. Entire regions were laid waste by gravitational weapons that literally tore the Earth apart. Swarms of nanobots infected human populations, turning them into mindless drones under Zoraxian control. Yet for every new threat, humanity found a way to counter. Underground cities sprang up, shielded from alien detection. New medical treatments were developed to combat the nanobots. And all the while, the resistance grew stronger, more organized, and more effective. 6 months after the initial invasion, the first major human victory was achieved. In a coordinated strike that demonstrated the growing capabilities of the resistance, 3 alien outposts were simultaneously destroyed in North America, Europe, and Asia. The operation was a masterpiece of planning and execution. Jack O'Connor's team in Australia provided crucial intelligence on alien patrol patterns. Anastasia Volkova's Siberian fighters supplied advanced EMP weapons reverse-engineered from salvaged alien tech. Adebayo's network coordinated the attacks with split-second timing. And at Haven, Dr. Chen's breakthroughs in understanding alien shielding technology made the strikes possible. As news of the victory spread through hidden communities and resistance cells, a wave of hope swept across the planet. For the first time since the invasion, humanity dared to believe that they might actually win this war. But even as they celebrated this triumph, the resistance leaders knew that the real battle was just beginning. The Zoraxians would not take this defeat lightly, and their retaliation would be swift and terrible. In orbit high above the Earth, the Zoraxian command ship pulsed with angry red light. Supreme Commander Zexcaltar, its segmented body writhing with fury, addressed its subordinates. "These humans have proven more troublesome than anticipated," it hissed, its multifaceted eyes glowing with malevolence. "The time for measured occupation is over. Initiate the cleansing protocol. Let them feel the full might of the Zoraxian Empire." As the alien fleet began to move into position for a devastating assault, humanity braced itself for the greatest challenge it had ever faced. The resistance, born in the ashes of defeat, had given them a fighting chance. Now they would need every ounce of courage, ingenuity, and determination to survive the onslaught to come. In hidden bases and secret laboratories, in ruined cities and remote outposts, the people of Earth prepared for battle. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy of unimaginable power, but they had something the Zoraxians could never understand: an unbreakable will to live free. As the storm clouds of war gathered once more, one thing was certain: humanity would either emerge victorious or go down fighting to the last. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the next phase of the conflict would determine the future of both species. The turning point. The Zoraxian cleansing protocol hit Earth with devastating force. Massive energy beams lanced down from orbit, vaporizing entire cities. Swarms of combat drones darkened the skies, hunting down pockets of human resistance. It seemed that after months of setbacks, the aliens were determined to end the war in one fell swoop. In the Haven facility, alarms blared as reports of destruction poured in from around the globe. General Hawthorne stood before a holographic map, watching in horror as large swathes of it turned red, indicating areas lost to the Zoraxian assault. "Status report," he barked, his face grim. A young lieutenant, her uniform stained with soot from a recent skirmish, stepped forward. "Sir, we've lost contact with 60% of our surface outposts. The Sydney resistance cell is gone. London is under heavy attack. Our African network is barely holding on." Hawthorne's fists clenched. "And the Zoraxian power source in Australia?" "Still secure for now, sir. Captain O'Connor's team is dug in deep, but they're reporting increased enemy activity in the area." The general nodded, his mind racing. They needed a game changer, and fast. "Get me Dr. Chen and Adebayo. Now." Moments later, Samantha Chen hurried into the command center, her lab coat askew and dark circles under her eyes. On the main screen, Adebayo's face appeared, the young hacker looking equally exhausted. "Please tell me you have something," Hawthorne said without preamble. Samantha and Adebayo exchanged a glance. It was the Nigerian who spoke first. "We might, sir, but it's risky. Very risky." "At this point, risk is all we have left," the general replied. "What have you got?" Samantha stepped forward, pulling up a complex diagram on the holographic display. "We've been analyzing the data from Captain Volkova's captured Zoraxian commander. It's taken weeks to decrypt, but we finally cracked part of it. The Zoraxians have a critical weakness in their neural network." Adebayo picked up the thread. "Their entire command structure relies on a quantum entanglement communication system. It's what allows them to coordinate so effectively across vast distances. But if we could disrupt it, we could throw their entire invasion force into chaos." Hawthorne finished, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "How do we do it?" Samantha's expression was grim. "That's the risky part. We need to upload a virus directly into their main command ship. It would cascade through their entire network, temporarily severing their communication, and possibly even disabling their more advanced weapon systems." The general frowned. "And how exactly do you propose we get a virus onto a heavily guarded alien warship in orbit?" "We don't," Adebayo said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "We bring the ship to us." Over the next hour, the three of them, along with Haven's top strategists, hashed out a plan so audacious it bordered on insanity. But in the face of near-certain extinction, even the slimmest chance of victory was worth taking. The plan hinged on three key elements: the Zoraxian power source in Australia, the captured alien commander in Siberia, and a daring raid on a Zoraxian ground base to secure a short-range teleportation device. As the details were finalized, Hawthorne opened a secure channel to all remaining resistance cells. "This is General Hawthorne. In 12 hours, we will launch Operation Thunderstrike. This may be our last chance to turn the tide. Whatever happens, it has been an honor serving with all of you. Good luck. And Godspeed." Halfway around the world, in the scorching heat of the Australian outback, Captain Jack O'Connor received the transmission. He turned to his team, their faces streaked with dust and determination. "All right, people, this is it. Our job is to make as much noise as possible. We need to convince the Zoraxians that we're launching a major offensive to secure the power source. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and keep them focused on us." Sarah Chen, his second in command, nodded grimly. "And if their entire fleet decides to rain death on us from orbit?" Jack managed a wry smile. "Then we'll have succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. Now, let's move out." In Siberia, Captain Anastasia Volkova prepared for her part of the mission. The captured Zoraxian commander, kept in a state of suspended animation, was loaded onto a heavily modified transport vehicle. "Remember," she instructed her team, "our goal is not to engage the enemy directly. We're the bait. We need to make them believe we're trying to smuggle their commander to a secret research facility. The more Zoraxian forces we can draw away from their main bases, the better chance the others have of succeeding." Her soldiers nodded, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. They all knew the odds of survival were slim, but the stakes were too high to hesitate now. As resistance forces around the world mobilized for what could be their final battle, Adebayo worked feverishly from his hidden base in Lagos. The virus that could turn the tide of the war was his creation, a masterpiece of coding that merged human ingenuity with what they'd learned of Zoraxian technology. "Almost there," he muttered, fingers flying over his keyboard. "Just a few more sequences." Suddenly, an explosion rocked his hideout. Dust rained from the ceiling as the sounds of alien weapons fire grew closer. "No, no, no," Adebayo whispered, his heart racing. He couldn't fail now, not when they were so close. With one hand, he continued typing, while with the other, he reached for the plasma rifle propped against his desk. In Haven, Dr. Samantha Chen made final preparations for her part of the mission. She would be leading the strike team tasked with infiltrating the Zoraxian ground base and securing the teleportation device. As she checked her equipment one last time, General Hawthorne approached. "Dr. Chen, are you sure about this? We need your mind more than your marksmanship." Samantha met his gaze steadily. "With all due respect, sir, this mission requires someone who understands the tech we're after. I'm the best choice, and you know it." Hawthorne nodded, a hint of pride in his eyes. "Very well. Good hunting, Doctor." As the various teams moved into position, the Zoraxians continued their relentless assault on Earth's remaining strongholds. They were so focused on crushing the last vestiges of human resistance that they failed to notice the trap slowly closing around them. The operation began with a massive explosion in the Australian outback. Jack O'Connor's team had detonated an Aquata-enhanced warhead, a product of reverse-engineered alien tech, creating a blast visible from orbit. Almost immediately, Zoraxian forces began to converge on the area. Dropships filled the sky as alien ground troops poured into the desert, believing the humans were making a desperate play for the precious power source. Jack's guerrillas struck with practiced precision, using hit-and-run tactics to draw the aliens further into the arid landscape. Every skirmish, every feinted retreat was carefully calculated to hold the Zoraxians' attention. Thousands of miles away, Anastasia Volkova's convoy raced across the Siberian tundra, a fleet of alien pursuit craft hot on their heels. The captured commander, still in stasis, was their precious cargo and the perfect lure. Evasive maneuvers, Anastasia shouted as energy blasts strafed the ground around them. Her drivers, expertly trained, weaved between the explosions, always keeping just out of reach of their pursuers. Meanwhile, Samantha Chen's strike team had successfully infiltrated the Zoraxian ground base. Using a combination of stolen alien cloaking tech and good old-fashioned human stealth, they made their way to the central control room. "There," Samantha whispered, pointing to a device that pulsed with an eerie blue light. "That's our target." As her team moved to secure the teleportation device, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. They'd been detected. "Time to improvise," Samantha muttered, drawing her weapon. "Cover me." Back in Lagos, Adebayo fought a desperate battle on two fronts. His fingers never stopped typing as he put the finishing touches on the virus, even as he used his free hand to exchange fire with the Zoraxian troops attempting to breach his hideout. Come on," he growled, watching the upload progress bar inch forward agonizingly slowly. A stray energy blast scorched the wall inches from his head, showering him with debris. Just as the aliens broke through his last defenses, a message flashed on his screen. "UP load complete." Adebayo allowed himself a grim smile. "Checkmate, you bastards," he said, before destroying his equipment and surrendering to the alien forces. His part was done. As reports flooded in from around the world, General Hawthorne watched the holographic display with bated breath. Everything hinged on the next few moments. Suddenly, a massive Zoraxian warship appeared in the skies above the Australian desert, drawn by the chaos of the battle below. It was the opening they'd been waiting for. "Now," Hawthorne ordered. In that instant, several things happened at once. Samantha's team activated the stolen teleportation device, beaming a small strike force directly onto the Zoraxian command ship. Anastasia's convoy, having led their pursuers on a merry chase, suddenly turned and launched a barrage of EMP weapons, disabling a significant portion of the alien ground forces. And in Australia, Jack O'Connor's team revealed their true objective. Hidden beneath the desert sands was a massive electromagnet, salvaged from a particle accelerator and modified with alien tech. As it powered up, it created a localized gravitational anomaly, strong enough to affect even the mighty Zoraxian warship. Caught off guard, the alien vessel was pulled inexorably downward, its shields straining against the unexpected force. As it breached the lower atmosphere, Samantha's strike team fought their way to the ship's central computer core. With seconds to spare, they uploaded Adebayo's virus into the Zoraxian network. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the invaders. All across the globe, Zoraxian ships suddenly lost power, their weapons falling silent. Swarms of combat drones dropped from the sky like dead insects, and in orbit, the main alien fleet drifted aimlessly, their command structure shattered. In Haven's command center, a cheer went up as they watched the Zoraxian forces crumble. But General Hawthorne remained focused, knowing the battle was far from over. All units, this is your window. Push them back. Reclaim what's ours. As resistance forces around the world launched counterattacks against the suddenly vulnerable invaders, Hawthorne allowed himself a small smile. Against all odds, humanity had seized the initiative. The Zoraxians had come expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, a species with an indomitable will to survive, and a newfound unity in the face of cosmic threat. As the great counteroffensive began, one thing became clear. The war for Earth had entered its final decisive phase, and humanity, battered but unbroken, was ready to fight for its future among the stars. Counterattack and revelation. The days following Operation Thunderstrike were a whirlwind of activity as humanity seized its hard-won advantage. With the Zoraxian command structure in disarray and their advanced weapons temporarily disabled, resistance forces around the globe launched a coordinated counteroffensive. In the skies above New York, squadrons of human fighters, bolstered by reverse-engineered alien tech, engaged the confused Zoraxian fleet. Captain Maria Vasquez, leader of the Eagle Squadron, barrel-rolled her craft to avoid enemy fire. "All wings, report in," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Red 2, standing by. Blue leader, ready to rock. Green squad, itching for some payback." Maria allowed herself a grim smile. "All right, people, let's show these squid faces why you don't mess with Earth. Engage at will." The battle that followed was like nothing in human history. Sleek human fighters danced between lumbering alien cruisers, their weapons finding weak points in the Zoraxian defenses. On the ground, resistance cells emerged from hiding to reclaim their cities, street by street. At Haven, General Hawthorne coordinated the global assault, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. Dr. Samantha Chen stood beside him, her eyes darting between readouts. "Sir," she said, pointing to a flashing indicator, "we're picking up some strange energy readings from the downed Zoraxian command ship in Australia." Hawthorne frowned. "Define strange, Doctor." "It's like nothing we've seen before. The readings suggest some kind of dimensional shift." Before the general could respond, a transmission came through from Captain Jack O'Connor in Australia. "Haven, this is Dingo Actual. You're not going to believe this, but we've made contact with, well, I'm not sure how to describe them. Friendly aliens. They just appeared out of nowhere near the crashed Zoraxian ship, requesting instructions." Hawthorne and Samantha exchanged shocked glances. "Friendly aliens," the general repeated. "Patch them through, Captain. Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being that defied easy description. It was vaguely humanoid, with iridescent skin and large, compound eyes. But unlike the Zoraxians, its features were arranged in a way that seemed almost familiar. "Greetings, defenders of Earth," the being said, its voice a melodious trill that somehow translated perfectly in their minds. "I am Zelnar of the Galactic Confederation. We've come to offer our assistance." For a moment, the command center was silent, everyone too stunned to speak. It was Samantha who finally found her voice. "I'm Dr. Samantha Chen of Earth. We appreciate your offer, but forgive our caution. Our experiences with alien life have been less than positive so far." Zelnar's features rearranged in what might have been a smile. "Understandable, Dr. Chen. The Zoraxians are a scourge we've been combating for centuries. Your species' resistance against them is unprecedented and, frankly, impressive. We believe you may be the key to finally defeating them." As Zelnar explained, a complex picture began to emerge. The Galactic Confederation was an alliance of spacefaring species dedicated to peace and mutual defense. The Zoraxians were rogue elements, planet conquerors who had been expanding their empire for millennia. "We've been tracking their fleet for some time," Xylnar continued. "When they attacked your world, we feared the worst. But you've done what no other species has managed. You've broken their command structure and exposed a critical weakness." General Hawthorne leaned forward, his eyes narrow. "And why should we trust you? How do we know this isn't some elaborate trick?" Xylnar's body shimmered, a sign of what might have been amusement or respect. "A fair question, General. We offer not just words, but action. Our fleet stands ready to assist in driving the Zoraxians from your system. Moreover, we bring technology that can protect your world from future invasions." As if on cue, massive ships began to appear in Earth's orbit. But unlike the oppressive presence of the Zoraxian fleet, these new arrivals moved with a grace that spoke of benevolence. Over the next few hours, as the human counteroffensive continued around the globe, a plan was formulated. The Galactic Confederation would help eliminate the remaining Zoraxian forces, while human scientists worked alongside their new allies to understand the advanced technology being offered. But amidst the cautious optimism, ethical dilemmas arose. Some, like Samantha, argued for full cooperation with the Confederation. Others, including a vocal faction led by Captain Anastasia Volkova, were more skeptical. "We've only just freed ourselves from one alien influence," Anastasia argued during a heated strategy session. "Are we so eager to put our fate in the hands of another?" The debate raged on, but the pressing need to defeat the Zoraxians took precedence. For now, humanity and the Confederation would work together. As the combined human and Confederation forces pushed the Zoraxians back, Adebayo Ogunlisi, recently rescued from alien captivity, made a startling discovery. Working with Confederation tech experts, he uncovered hidden data in the Zoraxian systems he had hacked. "You're not going to believe this," he told Samantha and General Hawthorne, his eyes wide with disbelief. "The Zoraxians, they're not just conquerors. They're running from something." He pulled up a series of star charts and what looked like sensor readings. "There's something out there, in the dark space between galaxies, something that terrifies even the Zoraxians. I think that's why they've been expanding so aggressively. They're looking for allies, or slaves, to help them fight whatever this thing is." The implications were staggering. Humanity had just begun to grasp its place in a larger galactic community, only to learn that an even greater threat loomed on the cosmic horizon. As this information spread through the Resistance leadership, it added a new layer of complexity to their decisions. Could they afford to simply drive the Zoraxians away, knowing what might be coming? Or did they have a responsibility to try and forge some kind of alliance, however distasteful, in the face of a common enemy? The dilemma came to a head during a pivotal battle over the ruins of London. Human and Confederation forces had the remnants of the Zoraxian fleet cornered. Victory was within grasp. Captain Maria Vasquez, leading the air assault, received a startling order from General Hawthorne. "Eagle Leader, this is Haven Actual. New objective. Disable. Do not destroy the Zoraxian command vessel. I repeat, disable only." Maria's grip tightened on her controls. "Haven Actual, please confirm. You want us to let them live." There was a pause, heavy with the weight of the decision. "Confirmed, Eagle Leader. The situation has evolved. We need to talk to them." What followed was one of the most surreal moments in human history. As the battle raged around them, representatives from Earth, the Galactic Confederation, and the Zoraxian Empire met aboard a neutral vessel. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself face to face with the Zoraxian Supreme Commander Zex Calter. The alien's segmented body writhed with barely contained fury and fear. "You think you've won," Zex Calter hissed, its multifaceted eyes glowing. "You know nothing of the true war that's coming." Samantha steeled herself, remembering all that Earth had suffered. "Then enlighten us. What could be so terrible that it drives you to destroy entire civilizations? As Zex Kalter spoke, holographic images flickered to life around them. They showed a darkness deeper than the void of space, a hungering nothingness that devoured light and life alike. The confluence, the Zoraxians called it, an entity or force of cosmic scale that existed only to consume. We sought to unite the galaxy under our rule, Zex Kalter explained, to create an army vast enough to stand against the confluence. Your resistance has doomed us all. Zylnar of the Confederation shifted, its iridescent skin pulsing with concern. If what you say is true, then perhaps it is time to put aside old enmities. The confluence threatens all life, not just the Zoraxian Empire. Samantha looked between the two alien beings, her mind reeling from the implications. In the span of a year, humanity had gone from a species alone in the universe to a potential linchpin in a cosmic war beyond imagination. As the negotiations continued, the fighting gradually ceased around the globe. Human resistance fighters found themselves standing side by side with Zoraxian troops. All eyes turned to the stars, wondering what new threats might be lurking in the cosmic dark. In Haven, General Hawthorne addressed the War Council, his face grave. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a crossroads. We've won our freedom, but at what cost? Do we isolate ourselves, focus on rebuilding, or do we step onto the galactic stage and face whatever comes next? The room erupted in debate. Some argued for isolation, for focusing on Earth's recovery. Others pushed for full integration with the Galactic Confederation. And a few, seeing the strategic value of Earth's unique position, suggested playing the different factions against each other. As the arguments raged, Dr. Samantha Chen stood quietly, her mind on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From the devastating first days of the invasion to the triumph of human ingenuity, from the despair of near defeat to the dizzying possibilities now before them. She thought of all they had lost and all they stood to gain, of the sacrifices made and the challenges yet to come. And in that moment, she knew that whatever path they chose, humanity would face it together, stronger and more united than ever before. As the sun set on an Earth forever changed, Samantha stepped forward to offer her perspective. The decisions made in the coming days would shape not just the future of humanity, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. The war for Earth was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The final stand and beyond. The decision to join the galactic community was not made lightly, nor was it unanimous. But as reports of the confluence's approach filtered in from deep space outposts, the choice became clear. Earth would stand with its new allies against the coming storm. In the 5 years since the end of the Zoraxian invasion, humanity had undergone a transformation unprecedented in its history. Cities were rebuilt with a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology. The first human starships took flight, joining the combined fleet of the now expanded Galactic Confederation. Dr. Samantha Chen, now Earth's ambassador to the Confederation, stood on the bridge of the ESS Resilience, the flagship of humanity's contribution to the Galactic Defense Force. Beside her, Captain Jack O'Connor, the ship's commanding officer, studied the tactical display with a grim expression. "They're coming," he said softly, his Australian drawl tempered by years of command. "God help us all." Samantha nodded, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of darkness that was emerging at the edge of the solar system. The confluence had arrived. Across the fleet, beings of 100 different species prepared for battle. Zoraxian warships flew alongside sleek Confederation cruisers and Earth's own hybrid vessels. On the Resilience's command deck, a holographic representation of General Hawthorne flickered to life. "This is it, people," the old soldier said, his voice firm despite the years. "Everything we fought for, everything we've built, it all comes down to this moment. Whatever happens, I want you to know that it has been the honor of my life to serve with you all." As the general's image faded, Samantha felt a lump in her throat. She thought of Adebayo, now head of Earth's cybersecurity division. working tirelessly to protect their systems from the confluence's electronic warfare. Of Anastasia Volkova, leading a special ops team on a last-ditch mission to deploy a weapon that might turn the tide. All ships, battle formations. Jack ordered, his voice steady. May fortune favor the brave. The confluence struck with a fury that defied comprehension. It was not a fleet in any conventional sense, but a living darkness that consumed everything in its path. Ships unlucky enough to be caught in its tendrils simply ceased to exist, their crews and technology absorbed into the cosmic horror. The combined fleet fought back with everything they had. Xeraxian energy lances carved swaths through the darkness, while Confederation ships deployed exotic weapons that bent the fabric of space-time itself. Earth vessels, nimble and unpredictable, darted in and out of the fray, their hybrid weapons proving surprisingly effective. On board the Resilience, Samantha worked frantically alongside the ship's science team, analyzing the confluence's patterns, searching desperately for a weakness. Sweat beaded on her brow as she pored over the data streams. "There's got to be something," she muttered. "Everything has a weak point." Suddenly, her console lit up with an incoming transmission. It was Adebayo, his face drawn with exhaustion, but his eyes bright with excitement. "Sam, I think I've found it," he exclaimed. "The confluence, it's not just consuming matter and energy. It's consuming information, and that might be the key to stopping it." As Adebayo explained his theory, a plan began to form. It was audacious, perhaps even insane, but it was the best hope they had. "Captain," Samantha called out, "we need to get a message to Anastasia's team. Their mission has just changed." Across the solar system, on a small, nondescript asteroid, Captain Anastasia Volkova received the new orders with a mix of disbelief and grim determination. Her team had been prepared to deploy a gravitational weapon. Now they were being asked to do something far more dangerous. "Understood, Resilience," she replied, her voice crackling over the comm. "We'll get it done. Volkova out." As she turned to her team, a mix of humans and aliens who had become like family over the years of preparation, Anastasia allowed herself a small smile. "Well, comrades, it seems we have one last impossible task. Who's with me?" The response was unanimous. Whatever the odds, they would see this through together. Back in the main battle, the situation was growing dire. Despite the valiant efforts of the combined fleet, the confluence was pushing ever closer to Earth. Ship after ship winked out of existence, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. On the Resilience's bridge, Jack barked out orders as he maneuvered the ship through the chaos. Evasive pattern Delta. Weapons, target coordinates 227 by 114, full spread. Samantha clung to her station as the ship bucked and weaved. Through the view screen, she watched as a Xeraxian cruiser, its hull breached and venting atmosphere, made a suicide run into the heart of the confluence. The resulting explosion carved out a momentary hole in the darkness, quickly filled as if it had never existed. "Anastasia's team is in position," Jack reported, his voice tense. "They're ready to initiate on your mark." Samantha took a deep breath, knowing that what they were about to attempt could either save them all or doom the galaxy. "Tell them to proceed, and may whatever gods are out there have mercy on us." On the asteroid, Anastasia and her team activated the device they had prepared. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense, but a beacon, one that would broadcast every scrap of information humanity had ever produced directly into the heart of the confluence. "Let's hope your appetite for knowledge is as big as your appetite for destruction," Anastasia murmured as she flipped the final switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a tsunami of data made manifest, a wave of pure information burst forth from the asteroid. It collided with the leading edge of the confluence, and for the first time since the battle began, the cosmic horror seemed to hesitate. "It's working," Samantha exclaimed, watching the readings on her console. "The confluence is slowing, trying to process the influx of data." Across the fleet, a ragged cheer went up. but the battle was far from over. As the confluence grappled with the torrent of human knowledge and culture being forced into it, it lashed out wildly, its tendrils whipping through space with renewed fury. All ships pressed the advantage. General Hawthorne's voice boomed across the comm channels. Hit it with everything you've got. The combined fleet surged forward, pouring fire into the now vulnerable confluence. Xerexian battle hymns mingled with human war cries and the harmonic battle songs of a dozen other species as they fought with desperate courage. On the Resilience, Samantha worked feverishly to analyze the confluence's reactions. "We need more," she shouted to Adebayo over the comm. "It's adapting too quickly." "On it," came the reply. Moments later, a second wave of data burst forth. This time not just human knowledge, but the combined scientific and cultural legacy of every species in the Confederation. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The confluence's advance halted entirely, its amorphous form writhing as it struggled to process the overwhelming influx of information. In that moment of vulnerability, the Allied fleet struck with everything they had left. Antimatter warheads, gravity lances, and weapons that defied human understanding all converged on the cosmic horror. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if even this was not enough. Then, with a silent scream that resonated in the minds of every being present, the confluence began to collapse in on itself. "My God," Jack breathed, watching the spectacle unfold on the viewscreen. "We did it. We actually did it." As the last vestiges of the confluence disappeared into a singularity of its own making, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Ships hung motionless in space, their crews too stunned to even celebrate. It was Zoelnar, the Confederation representative who had first contacted humanity, who broke the silence. "People of Earth," the alien's voice rang out across all channels. "You have saved us all. The galaxy owes you a debt that can never be repaid." In the days and weeks that followed, the full impact of what had transpired began to sink in. The confluence, a threat that had loomed over the galaxy for eons, had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by the sheer weight of sapient knowledge and creativity. As the Allied fleet limped home, the work of rebuilding began. But it was a rebuilding filled with hope and unprecedented cooperation between species that had once been bitter enemies. On Earth, parades and celebrations erupted in every city as news of the victory spread. But for those who had been on the front lines, the mood was more reflective. In a quiet garden outside the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in New York, now expanded to include embassies from 100 alien worlds, Samantha Chen sat with her old friends, Jack O'Connor, Anastasia Volkova, Adebayo Ogunlisi, and General Hawthorne, the unlikely team that had guided humanity from the brink of extinction to its new place as a respected member of the galactic community. "So," Jack said, breaking the comfortable silence, "what now? Back to the stars?" Anastasia shook her head, a wry smile on her face. "I think I've had enough adventure for one lifetime. Maybe it's time to see what this peace we've won looks like." Adebayo laughed. "Peace, with the knowledge we've gained, the advancements we've made. This is just the beginning." Samantha looked up at the night sky, now filled with the lights of orbiting stations and visiting alien ships. "You're both right," she said softly. "We've earned our peace, but our journey is far from over." General Hawthorne nodded, his weathered face serene. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. Not just as humanity, but as part of something greater." As they sat there, these architects of Earth's future, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Once, they might have made a wish. Now, they knew it was probably just a Confederation ship, coming to trade or share knowledge. The universe, once so vast and empty, was now full of possibilities. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The war was over, yes, but the greatest adventure, the exploration of a galaxy teeming with life and wonder, was just beginning. And as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of hope, the friends raised their glasses in a silent toast. To the future, to the stars, and to the indomitable spirit that had carried them through their darkest hour to this bright new dawn. The end, and a new beginning.